he is here to play. He has actually won a lot of mirror matches of these kinds. I mean, he beat Blake running the exact same team as Leonard earlier on. Yep. You're right. In order to make the top 12.
Yeah, so this is a big deal. I mean, these guys are already playing for a pretty big prize pool. Top 8 gets $750, and if they advance, they'll double that to $1,500. They're also fighting for a spot for Day 2 at the World Championship. So,
and that's always something that you want to do. Dodging Day 1, just move on straight to Day 2.
Yep.
And that is just something that both players are hunting for right now.
So much on the line here. If they manage to win, they will be able to take a break going into tomorrow before the semifinals and the finals. But we're going to get right into this one.
And Xerneas and Kangaskhan leads out for Leonard, as Groudon and Kangaskhan leads out for Chase. Fake out support from both sides, and also, you know, a chance to Geomancy right here.
Yeah, this is, you know, not much of a surprise in terms of matchups coming out here. These are Pokemon that are all, you know, very popular. Obviously, these teams are using some of the most popular Pokemon in the format, and it's always interesting. I actually like Groudon's positioning here because it does threaten the Kangaskhan and the Xerneas with Precipice Blades. We do see the Kangaskhan's come out on both players' end. Also an interesting decision, opting to bring Kangaskhan over Salamence. And, you know, Salamence is really nice against Groudon and Kangaskhan, but suffers heavily against Xerneas. So, for example, you'd imagine if one of the players had led Salamence here, more specifically on Chase's end, you'd be threatened by that Xerneas and the fake out Geomancy play here. So both players not wanting to risk that, going for the Kangaskhan's, but Xerneas, of course, does have the Geomancy potential immediately.
And we do see Leonard's Kangaskhan now Mega Evolve, choosing not to keep its ability prior to its Mega Evolution. Chase is known to allow it to stay unmegged, and it does stay unmegged, goes for the fake out onto the Xerneas, so now it looks like Kangaskhan on Leonard's side going for the power punch, going to try to charge up, hitting that Kangaskhan for a lot of damage on that first hit, going to go ahead and raise its attack stat by 2 stages right there, and of course doing about 50%, and that's one of the reasons, that's one of the downfalls of, you know, being able, not Mega Evolving, as Groudon now goes for a Fire Punch, going to connect onto that Kangaskhan and do a good amount of damage. Picks up a
critical
KO.
hit, really unfortunate. That's a big critical hit there. That normally does not pick up the knockout, does around 70 to 80%. And the reason why that's a big deal here is because Chase's Kangaskhan opted not to Mega Evolve. The reason why it didn't Mega Evolve was because it does have the Inner Focus ability, most likely, so hoping to block a potential fake out onto the Kangaskhan. I think that's a little bit, I mean, it's like a safe play, quote-unquote, on Chase's end, but it's so rare for Kangaskhan's to just fake out other Kangaskhan's. So, you know, Leonard was going to get the better end of that trade-off. If he does manage to survive that Fire Punch, then you have so much firepower because the Kangaskhan, sure, it can Sucker Punch, but you can outspeed. I mean, there are some mind games, right? Because then if you're Chase, you could just Sucker Punch and Fire Punch into the Kangaskhan, forcing Leonard's Kangaskhan to Sucker Punch your Kang, and then you can knock it out. But Smeargle coming in here, obviously always a big threat, but I think if I'm Chase, I'm pretty content about that. My Kangaskhan took a lot of damage, but at least I knocked out the Kangaskhan on my opponent's side, and it was at +2 attack.
Yeah, and now it's going to come down to what the Xerneas is going to be able to do. It's probably going to be able to set up. Smeargle's a great partner for it to be able to set up, because if you don't punish that Smeargle switch in, then you're just going to get put to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Kangaskhan, one of the better answers against Smeargle, but depending on how fast the Xerneas is, it actually could just outspeed the Kangaskhan, because Kangaskhan is still at that base 90 speed, and that's not going to change until after this turn. So Xerneas could just Dazzling Gleam or Moonblast here, and Smeargle could just get a Dark Void off, and it looks like both players are staying in with their Pokemon.
And Kangaskhan does Mega Evolve now, going to go ahead and get that speed boost that it gets in between Mega Evolutions. Xerneas not going to want to mess around this turn, protect itself. And Kangaskhan goes for the return on that Smeargle, picks up the KO right there, right off the bat. Smeargle not being able to do much at all, and Chase going huge right here as Groudon goes for a Fire Punch into that Xerneas protect. Huge, huge turn right there from Chase, and now Leonard is down to his last 2 Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused. I mean, maybe Leonard knew that his Xerneas was really slow and slower than that Kangaskhan. That would make sense. We don't know how, obviously, these Pokemon are trained. So, you know, Xerneas nowadays are on the bulkier spectrum. So it's highly likely it probably wouldn't be able to outspeed Kangaskhan. If you know how fast you are and you know you can outspeed Max Kangaskhan, then you should go for the Moonblast Dark Void play. But Chase making a really good read there, expecting Smeargle not to go for a Spiky Shield or a King Shield, instead just going for the target. And because it's so strong, you know, goes through any potential Focus Sash, is able to just pick up the knockout there.
It's safe anyways, right? Because otherwise, you know, what's Xerneas going to do that Groudon? We do see the return right now from Kangaskhan on Chase's side, going for the Xerneas right now. Going to hit it for a lot of damage right there, bringing it down to about 40%. Xerneas now with the Moonblast, going to connect onto that Kangaskhan. Should be able to pick the KO here with that Fairy or a boosted Moonblast. And now it looks like Groudon's free to go. Groudon on Chase's side.
Oh, and a dodge.
Huge avoid right there from Groudon. Does pick up the KO on Xerneas, so now it's going to be Chase's Groudon versus Leonard's Groudon plus 2 more Pokemon in the back for Chase.
Single target Precipice Blades, though. Here we go. Will that be able to pick up the knockout?
And that does pick up the KO right there. Huge KO.
Critical hit.
I don't think that mattered too much.
It could matter, actually. Some Groudons are trained so bulky that they can survive.
At the same time, even when it's... yeah, you're right. I mean, there's still 2 Pokemon left in Chase's side. Xerneas right there. Going to come in. Not going to be exactly being able to do too much damage right off the bat. But we do see Cresselia. And Cresselia can provide a little bit of support options for the Xerneas here. Yeah,
because Chase's Cresselia, as we've seen before, is a little bit on the more offensive spectrum. I think Chase is still in an okay position here. I mean, definitely demoralizing to miss a Precipice Blades that guarantees you the win, but because he's built himself into such a good position, he's already ahead. Groudon is obviously a little bit bulky on Leonard's end, but perhaps, you know, at this point he has to hope for a return critical hit similar to what Chase was able to do in the beginning of the game. A crit onto Xerneas would be able to maybe knock it out, although it's so bulky. We actually don't see any Icy Winds, we just see a Psychic, and that does so much damage.
Yeah, especially hitting the special side right there. Xerneas now setting up for a Geomancy. Going to try to go for some single target Moonblast. After a Geomancy, essentially a neutral hit. We'll see exactly how much damage it can do and what this Groudon on Leonard's side decides to do. Can go for a Precipice Blades, can also go for a Fire Punch, hoping for a burn to slowly chip away as well. We do see the 2 stages of increased special attack. We do see the 2 stages of increased special defense and speed. Groudon now goes for a Fire Punch. Going to go ahead and hit that Xerneas. Going to do a decent amount of damage, 50% right there. Nice damage.
Even a critical hit actually wouldn't have knocked that out. So Chase making a really safe Geomancy play. As a result, now we can just see a Moonblast on a Psychic into it. Phenomenally played game by Chase there.
And we do see the Moonblast right here going to connect on that Groudon, and the Psychic should come out soon after. Does go for the Psychic, and big damage right there. Picks up the KO, and Chase takes game 1 here of the top 8 of the 2016 Pokemon Video Game National Championships. Well played by Chase, and now we have to go to game 2 and back to the drawing board for Leonard.
Pretty dominating fashion there. I thought Chase had the advantage right from the start. Yeah, he basically had the better lead matchup because that Groudon put on so much pressure against Kangaskhan and Xerneas. Of course, that critical hit there in the beginning made the difference, I think. Without that critical hit, it's a lot harder for Chase to win that one because Kangaskhan does have that pressure with Sucker Punch and is at +2 attack. Of course, you know, like we said, you know, Kangaskhan will probably be knocked out the turn after, but, you know, anytime a game opening critical hits basically kicks off the game, it's really, really frustrating. So I thought Chase was still able to make really good plays. I mean, the call on to return Smeargle and to expect maybe the Xerneas to protect, or even maybe just expecting to attack. Really, really good read there. Was able to knock out Smeargle, made it a non-factor.
Regardless, it's a safe play simply because, you know, if you leave that Smeargle alone, it's just going to go ahead and punish you with the Dark Void. And the last thing you want is your Kangaskhan and your Groudon to be both asleep,
right,
while Geomancy can easily come up on Xerneas.
Yeah, the one scary potential thing was if the Smeargle there had King Shield or Spiky Shielded, Xerneas would be able to knock out the Kangaskhan before Groudon attacks. So then Smeargle hangs around longer, and suddenly you don't have the best tool to deal with Smeargle, which is that Kangaskhan. But we're going to see how both players adjust. I mean, we didn't see a Salamence on either end. I'm not sure how much you really want Salamence here. I mean, Kangaskhan is a really reliable option with Fake Out and Power Up Punch on both players' end. But of course, Salamence does help out with Intimidate. We saw that the Groudon on Chase's end was able to do so much damage with Precipice Blades and Fire Punches. So I think Leonard might want to reconsider and maybe bring a Salamence, but we're going to get into the second game. And we do see the Salamence.
We see Salamence and Xerneas coming out for Leonard's side. A little adjustment here to try to deal with Kangaskhan a little bit better, but we also see some adjustments from Chase's side as we see Cresselia and Kangaskhan too. So sort of similar leads, but also different at the same time, simply because of that one Pokemon that decided to tech in.
Yeah, Cresselia, Kangaskhan, that's a really VGC 2015 throwback. Very common, obviously, at the World Championships last year. Not much of a surprise to see it here, given how strong they are. Now, the Intimidate on the Kangaskhan is a big deal, obviously. Anytime you intimidate Kangaskhan, Xerneas just becomes that much more of a threat because of its ability to Geomancy. However, Xerneas can't just freely Geomancy because Cresselia is a Pokemon that can either reverse the dimensions through Trick Room or paralyze it through Thunder Wave. And typically, most Cresselias will have that in addition to Icy Wind. So, you know, there are a bunch of plays that both players can make, but you have to be careful if you're Leonard not to get too greedy with Xerneas and Geomancy because the dimensions could be twisted. The best thing you've got going for you right now, however, is that Kangaskhan and Cresselia can't do too much to damage the Xerneas, so maybe you want to Geomancy just for the special attack increase. The Salamence, of course, does have to watch out for potential Icy Winds or Ice Beams from Cresselia.
And we do see Salamence go ahead and Mega Evolve here, going to go ahead and get the Aerial Aid ability. Not going to want to try to keep that Intimidate ability to have it utilized later on. Kangaskhan now also going to Mega Evolve, and one thing that I've noticed about watching Chase for this entire tournament, he never Mega Evolves his Kangaskhan when another Kangaskhan is out, but once it's gone, he's ready to Mega Evolve. Kangaskhan now goes for the Fake Out, going to go ahead and target down that Xerneas, preventing any possibility of a Geomancy or just a strong Moonblast coming out. As Salamence now goes for the Tailwind, what is Cresselia going to do? Is it going to set up that Trick Room? Chase's Cresselia is going to be moving here after the... Oh, goes for an Icy Wind, trying to slow down the opponent. Going to do a decent amount of damage to that Salamence, a little bit of chip damage onto that Zernius. Oh, 50%
that was
on
more
that
than
Salamence.
decent damage,
That was really good damage, actually, from an Icy Wind. A little Dewey Haas special with that Icy Wind Cresselia. Zernius does flinch and cannot move this turn. And remember, Cresselia is moving before that Zernius outside in normal speed with 0 speed control whatsoever.
Right, so I mean, I can understand the Tailwind play there. I'm not sure how much it really helps Leonard. I really like Chase's play there. It's a really safe play. And I think Leonard there maybe would have wanted to protect the Salamence. Sure, the Tailwind helps, but you were outspeeding things anyway. I mean, now I guess you can potentially double edge and Moonblast the Kangaskhan. That might be what Leonard was setting himself up for. But if I'm Chase, I'm really content with the Icy Wind damage onto Crest. That's obviously a lot of damage to a KO. It's pretty clearly evident that Chase's Cresselia is on the more offensive spectrum. I mean, it looks like we are going to see a double target here with the double edge.
And we do see the double edge. And the Kangaskhan,
That's a
huge
critical
damage.
hit.
Huge damage right there with the critical hit. Picks up the one-hit KO. As Salamence does take a lot of recoil damage, but it's still hanging on as Zernius now goes for a Dazzling Gleam. Not going to go for the Geomancy just yet. Going to do a good amount of damage to that Cresselia as Cresselia sets up the Trick Room. And, you know, oh man, big crit right there to be able to pick up the KO on Kangaskhan, but that does mean Chase is now able to set up for this Trick Room sweep.
Right, I mean, I'm not sure how much that critical hit matters, really, because Zernius' Dazzling Gleam is picking up the knockout there anyway. It only means a little bit additional damage onto Cresselia, but if I'm Chase, I'm pretty content here because I get the free switch into the Groudon, and Groudon, of course, is a major threat here. The only issue is we haven't seen Chase's Cresselia use anything like Gravity yet, so you won't maybe be able to hit the Salamence for as hard as you'd want, or not the Salamence, but in these positions, it's nice to just Gravity and press with Blades. However, given how low that Salamence is, you could just Fire Punch the Zernius, maybe go for an Icy Wind. You do have to watch out a little bit, but you're in a good position right now because the Trick Room is counting, and you're guaranteed to be faster than everything on the Trick Room since the Tailwind is still up on Leonard's end.
And one thing is that Zernius still has not set up that Geomancy yet, so it's not going to be too fast if the Tailwind does peter out. We do see Salamence go ahead and switch out right now. Going to go into Smeargle. Is Cresselia going to go for the Icy Wind here? That would be an okay move. Smeargle, depends on how the Smeargle's trained. Zernius now going to protect itself from any damage right now. Not going to want to take a Precipice Blades or a Fire Punch that does land into that protect. As Cresselia goes for the Psychic, not going to risk a miss right there, and does break Smeargle's Focus Sash if it does carry it. As we see the Moody here, attack rise, okay, not too bad. Evasiveness drops, okay, well, an Icy Wind can hit it for sure now.
Right. You know, it was a good decision there, actually. I like that a lot on Chase's end not to Icy Wind, because if you Icy Wind to a Smeargle, that Smeargle most likely will be outspeeding you. I mean, yes, Tailwind is up, but Smeargles are typically built pretty slow, so it comes down. But now you probably know, okay, since Tailwind is still up, I should be able to outspeed this Smeargle with my Groudon and my Cresselia. Psychic did so much damage. It's really clear that this Cresselia is a bulky offensive Cresselia. You know, it's not like those 2012, 2013 Cresselias that had Choice Specs, Expert Belt, Life Orb occasionally, but it's a lot more offensive than the very bulky Cresselias that we see earlier on in the format.
Do you know how, I mean, the Cresselia, I remember from watching his battles before, it has 196 hit points.
Yeah, it's really low, which is, it explains a lot. It's probably almost max special attack and speed investment, but we actually do see Zernius pull out a switch here.
And Salamence comes in now. Two heavily weakened Pokemon. Smeargle goes for the Spiky Shield, probably trying to outstall his own Tailwind that he set up in turn 1. Groudon now goes for the Fire Punch, going to go ahead and connect onto that Salamence. Picks up the KO easily right there at such low health. Again, going back to that, I think the Psychic also could have been just one way to prevent a miss with Icy Wind since it is inaccurate, as the Psychic does hit into the Smeargle Protect. Smeargle's now Moody activates, defense is going to raise sharply, and of course the accuracy is going to go ahead and drop again. Another turn of Trick Room has been burned.
Yeah, so that's a -1 evasion and -1 accuracy for Smeargle, so even hitting Dark Voids is going to be a little bit harder now. We're going to see Groudon switch in on Leonard's end here, so we did confirm earlier that Leonard's Groudon's actually slower than Chase's Groudon. That's a big deal under Trick Room right now because Trick Room is still up, and the Tailwind has expired, I believe.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, the Groudon's still going to have to try to find a way to deal with this Cresselia and this other Groudon on full health on the other side, though.
Yeah, I mean, you have to watch out for the wide guard. I mean, if you're Chase, maybe you want to protect your Groudon and go for a Psychic. Smeargle, we still don't know how fast it is exactly without the Tailwind boost, so that's a big deal. It's weird to kind of see Tailwind conflict with Trick Room, but obviously the case here when Leonard set up that original Tailwind. It's a testament to how a lot of these teams are built. They have the Tailwind option and they have the Trick Room option. And we actually just see Groudon go for a Fire Punch. No Precipice Blades here.
Yeah, and a hit onto the Cresselia. Almost picks up the KO.
So close.
Activates the Citrus Berry. Cresselia's going to go ahead and munch away at that Citrus Berry and bring it back up to about 25% of its hit
Here's
points.
the Dark Void, though.
And the Dark Void does connect. Does it put both Pokemon asleep? We'll have to see if both Pokemon fall into the Void. Groudon Void! Groudon avoids the attack, and Cresselia falls asleep.
That's a big avoid, and he went for the precipice blades,
And that
not
hits,
even caring about the wide guard.
That connects right there and picks up the KO on the Smeargle. Groudon on Leonard's side does hang on, so huge avoid right there from the Dark Void.
Yeah, I mean, Chase has definitely gotten a little bit fortunate. I do think he's been playing this incredibly well, making the right call, saying, okay, well, if you don't go for the wide guard here and you miss your Dark Void, I will be in such a good position. That's exactly what he was able to set himself into. Now the Groudon on Leonard's end, not even going to be able to knock out the Groudon on Chase's end without a critical hit. Trick Room, I believe, is still up, so, you know, Xerneas is obviously threatened, but it's never over when Xerneas can get a Geomancy.
Yeah, and, you know, Geomancy essentially is probably one of the best moves in the game paired with that Power Herb.
Absolutely.
We'll have to see exactly how this plays out. I mean, Chase still has one more Pokemon in the back, so anything can still happen. Leonard can claw his way back.
Oh,
Cresselia
wakes up
hand.
too. That might just end the game right now.
With the helping hand, giving Groudon a little boost here. Groudon goes for the Precipice Blades on Chase's, or on Leonard's side. Going to be able to connect.
And it dodges.
What?
Yeah, that's not...
The Precipice Blades from Chase connects onto the ground, picks with KO. Xerneas hangs on with just 27 hit points, but I don't know if Xerneas has the firepower to knock out 3 Pokemon here. Full health Groudon of all things, as well as Xerneas does set up the Geomancy.
I think both players really, you know, did the moves that that were ideal for them, but that's definitely a heartbreaker for Leonard. He has not gotten lucky in this series, and that's the difficult thing about these mirrors. Not only does it come down to who plays well, but if you have a little bit more fortune like Chase does, it's easy to run through your opponent. Leonard made some great plays there. Unfortunately, it was not able to work out for him. You know, he was just not able to connect with the Precipice Blade.
And he set up that so well to Geomancy and have his Xerneas in the turn when Trick Room expires.
Right, and you imagine actually if he pulls that off, then Xerneas is free to just Dazzling Gleam and Moonblast away with Groudon supporting it.
Right, at this position right now, the Cresselia is easily knocked out.
Cresselia also was so close from just getting knocked out outright. You know, a lot of unfortunate luck there. You know, the Dark Void miss, Onslaught Groudon, the double dodge there, and all of Chase's Precipice Blades connecting. But that's one of the risks of using Groudon in this format. You have to, you know, account for the fact that Precipice Blades can miss, and that's why we often see players use Eruption or Earth Power knowing that they cannot miss.
Or Earthquake.
Not in this format, man.
We do see Xerneas now go for the Moonblast, going to target down that Groudon. Not going to be able to pick up the KO with the critical hit even. Does get a special attack drop. Not going to matter too much as Groudon goes for the Fire Punch, does connect, and picks up the KO. And Chase Lybbert takes the top 8 match, moves on to the top 4, defeating Leonard Craft III in a 2-0 fashion. Big victory from Chase.